Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Cryptids, Creeps, and Conspiracy. The following content may involve explicit language and materials, so listener discretion is advised.
I'm just going to go ahead and just dive in here. I am so excited because if you guys have not seen all over my social media, every Monday I am part of a live group and I have a fucking blast every single Monday. And that is because of our special guest today, the one and only fabulous Farrah from Studio Sinister Podcast. Yeah. So
Hey,
she gets everybody
hey.
together. Yeah, it's fantastic. She does an amazing job getting the story plots set up and there's themes, and I get to play dress up once a week, which is fantastic for me. That's my favorite part. And I get to act like sometimes a total diva, which is even more fantastic for me. Farrah, I usually open up and give everybody an opportunity to introduce themselves, kind of explain what it is that you do, how you got here, and that kind of thing. So really anything that you want to give us, now is the time to shine.
Well, thank you so much again for having me on your show. And to all the CCC crew out there, hello, my name is Farrah. I am the creator and host of Studio Sinister Podcast and its naughty little sister, After Hours Live and Uncut. And I've been podcasting for a little over a year now. I decided to do this because we had moved from, long story short, of course, we had moved from Florida to Tennessee for my husband to go to school. And, but we were going to take like a little break just to kind of physically and mentally heal. So we got this cabin on 488 acres in Whitleyville, Tennessee, which is about 2 hours from the Oak Ridge area. If anyone has heard of that, it's like where the particle reactor used to be, and a lot of different UFOs, Bigfoot sightings, dogmen, cryptids, etc. So I've always been, I've researched and investigated the paranormal for almost like 20 years. Cryptids not as long, probably like 5-6 years or so. But when I moved out there, I'd always was a believer, but it sealed the deal when I had my own encounters out there, which is why I started the Conversation Cabin podcast, which is where my show had started at because of where I was. And then when we moved out of the cabin, I just didn't think that it fit anymore. So I changed the name to Studio Sinister. But I love being a podcaster. I love telling stories. I'm not one to give my opinion before or after. I have someone on my show that wants to let me know what their experiences, encounters, and sightings are. I give everyone the documentation and their story. If it's anything that I've looked up, I just give all my listeners all the information. They make a decision. I never put myself into it as, do you believe that story? Do you believe that story? It's nothing like that. It's just tell me your story, give it to the listeners. And so far, it's been a great journey. I've talked to some amazing people, and I'm looking forward to being on your show now and getting to talk to you more.
I have been looking forward to this ever since we scheduled it. And for starters, I really would love to be in that cabin.
Oh,
I rented a cabin for my wedding. We went down to Nashville, and it was a freaking blast. I loved it. Granted, at the time we had like a shit ton of people in this one cabin, but any hoozles, I'm kind of the same way where I keep an open mind, and there's some things where, yeah, I believe it 100%. Some of it I'm like, okay, I'm an optimistic skeptic. So
right.
I want to know, and some of them it's, okay, so a good example, which is exactly what I'm going to be asking you about first, is Bigfoot. I believe there's also a ton of theories as to what exactly Bigfoot is, whether it's a creature, an interdimensional being, whether it's from another world of some kind, an extraterrestrial pet, whatever the case may be. But it's hard for me to wrap my mind around it because I have not had a personal encounter with that being as a whole. So I do believe it, and I believe there's the opportunity to be there, although I do understand a lot of the skepticism around it.
Of
But
course.
until I have that, probably not going to happen because I hate outside. But if I ever have that, we will get into that. I can bring that up as to why I don't go looking, because I'm pretty sure it would find me, and I don't believe in that Harry and the Henderson bullshit. I mean, these things will kill your ass. That's how I look at it. Like, they are animals. But I love hearing everybody else's encounters to see the similarities and the differences between them. I take everything as like, you saw it, because I know a lot of things that I have seen in the past.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are like, there is no way in hell that shit's real. But I'm like, I've seen it, heard it, touched it, whatever. I know it's here.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I wanted to kind of ask, on a Bigfoot perspective, what have you encountered or experienced either at the cabin area or just in general?
Well, first of all, we'll start on the Bigfoot thing. Just kind of putting it out there a little bit. I know you said you were going to ask later, but with what I've researched, investigated, gone out into the field myself, and then also talked with teams that I've actually been able to research and investigate with, such as like Cryptid Warfare podcast, and Jessica
amazing.
Jones, the Cryptid Huntress. These people,
also amazing.
Exactly. I actually got to side by side investigate with them and on my property. I invited them out.
So cool.
Last June 23rd, they came for the whole weekend, it was Drew and Zook, and then 5 of his friends, and then Jessica and I. So what was cool was everything that I've experienced, I got to put that together with them so we could all work it out in our mind, and I can come up with what I think it is. First of all, Bigfoot, I believe, is a flesh and blood creature as well as somewhat supernatural. And that's the same thing that Jessica believes, the same thing that Drew and Zook believe. They believe that there is some type of different kind of extra intra-dimensional being of it because of the fact it can stay elusive for as long as it has. And since we know that on this planet that there are different type of magnetic zones and vortexes and portals, that they are somehow able to tap into those to be able, if they're seen for a split second in the Pacific Northwest, they could jump somewhere else in a split second. I have, as far as the evidence that I've been able to see that made me believe in Bigfoot fully, was when I lived at the cabin. This cabin that I lived in was very old. First of all, there was no heat, no air conditioning.
Okay, take it back.
My whole thing when I found a place when we were going to move to Tennessee is I wanted for Jake and I we were coming from a long thing of some things that we had gone through. And so we wanted to kind of freshen our brain, get a grip of everything again. So what a best way to do that in a place where it's a cabin that was like built in 1950 some. It had a wood stove to heat. Like I said, no air.
That's where you lose me.
Exactly. One little window air conditioner in our bedroom. That was it. So we couldn't cook. I could hardly cook dinner because it would just be so hot in the kitchen. It was unbearable. But anyway, when you go out the back door and you walk about 10 to 20 feet, I had a huge, ancient, ominous cave system right outside my back door.
Perfect.
Now, in investigating since I was there, Jessica and I tracked down that this is the same cave system that goes up through Kentucky, where the Hopkinsville, Kentucky alien encounter happened, that those aliens might have came out or went back into. So that was the same cave system. So that was very awesome to know that, there's just so many beings that have been known in this area. I'm right by the LBL. I'm right by Oak Ridge, like I said. So
you kind of were living a rock's throw away from the paranormal underground railroad, virtually.
Exactly. Actually, we believe that there was an underground base / tunnel under my home as well, because there was like twice where Jake and I would be sitting in bed watching TV and you'd see our feet go like this because there was something and we could hear it. It sounded like a deep ground underneath us rumbling. And it kind of shook the house a little bit. So
what if you just fell through? What if it was like Mel's hole under your fucking house?
The way I am, I would just grab a flashlight and say, let's go. Because I'm not scared of anything like that. I want to see it all. I want to feel it all. I want to smell it all. Girl, I went into that cave by myself with a doll lantern, a REM pod, an EVP recorder. I went as far back in that cave. Jake was at work, so I'm by myself in this cave that I can't see anything. I feel like there's something on every side of me. I even thought I had this like
an image.
Yes, an image of me getting taken by like these aliens. And then how would Jake like find out where I'm at? It felt that real, that there was something there. Living out there really opened my eyes. And you're right. Just like you, until you see it, of course, anyone's going to be skeptical. But you have to also look at the hundreds and thousands of witnesses, incredible statements from doctors and army or military people and lawyers and professional people that have so much to lose. And, you know, they've talked about their quick sighting of a UFO or a Bigfoot or paranormal encounter. There can't be that many crazy, not medicated people in this world that have sometimes the same type of experience. Yeah. And after this, through today and tomorrow, I'll send you all the different evidence that I have. So that way, you know, if you want to post it along with the episode. And again, just like I told you before we started, I will tell you my experiences, tell you what I think. Your listeners, I want them to be able to gather from what I, you know, said about my experience along with my evidence, and they make their own conclusion. That's fine with me.
Now, be careful what you wish for here, because actually I had just told somebody right before I had recorded with Leslie and Steven, like maybe 2 weeks beforehand, I had just told somebody, we were talking about not having experiences. And I said, you know, I have the paranormal aspect and everything with that and the ghosts and the demons and all of those things. I said, but I don't have any cryptid sightings or abduction by aliens. And then I shit you not, go back and listen to the story I told Leslie and Steven. That happened 2 days before I recorded with them.
See, sometimes when you break that little wall in your brain, because you know right, you know how everyone says that children and animals are able to see the paranormal so much easier than adults are. It's because they have not been brainwashed with what ifs or the left or the right side or the blue or the red side. They're just there. They're just learning. Same with dogs and cats and birds and whatever. They get to see it for what it is. They don't have anybody saying, well, no, it can't be this. Here's my thing. And you'll hear me say this if, you know, anybody has listened to any of my episodes before. If you're going to sit there and tell me what it's not, but you can't tell me what it is, then don't say anything. Because I've had so many people that if I show a picture and I say, well, this is what I think it is. Oh, no, it can't be that. Well, then what is it? I don't know. Okay, well, then there you go. You don't know. You can't jump and say that it's a bear or that it's this kind of track or that it's a satellite in the air.
A lot of times I have the same problem because people are like, oh, well, there's no way it's this or whatever. I'm like, okay, what evidence do you have that it's not that? I mean, the evidence is there, and if the evidence supports more so that it is possible, then in theory, if it's not, there should be evidence that it's not whatever it is that somebody says it is.
Exactly. And mine went as far as my animals were sacrificed. My 4 chickens died. They were taken. They were killed. And I know that, when this all happened, Jessica Jones had remote viewed my property, and that's what she has major experience in. And she confirmed that there was some type of Bigfoot pod on my property. And let me tell you what, these things are very smart, because inside the chicken coop was this stick that, when we had our chicken coop, right, it has the steel frame, and then it has like the little chicken wire, like it's draped over it, right?
Yep.
Something had put a stick through the left side to kind of chase my chickens to the right front side.
What?
Where something had a fist size gone in and grabbed the chicken through that only fist size hole. There was no blood. There was no chicken parts. All there was like 3 feathers by the outside of my enclosure. The only thing I found was the first time that my 2 chickens were killed, because it was a month and a half later where the second 2 were killed. The first incident, there was either a heart or a liver that was left in front of the main cave entrance with 1 or 2 feathers, and that happened a day after I had gone in and investigated that cave. The next time that my second set of 2 chickens were killed, I had gone and investigated that cave.
That is very interesting that it's the timing, 2, that it's, the 2s.
Because the second time that my second set of chickens had died, one of them was out front of the enclosure. Now, this is when we had gone through, this was after we had layered more wire to where those holes were. We fixed it first and then layered another layer from like the ground to like 4 or 5 feet high. And one of my chickens was outside. Something opened the door, but also turned the camera, and the camera was off, meaning that at that night, my camera only recorded till like evening, and something not only moved it, but was able to turn it off. And then it picked back up in the morning when I had 4 other cameras around the property that never even glitched.
Question. At any point, was the camera disconnected physically?
No,
because I have a theory.
It's a wireless camera. It had no wires on it. And it was when it's on my phone, because it's hooked up to my phone as well. First of all, it has motion detection. These were expensive Arlo cameras. These weren't little tiny ring cameras or things that you get cheap at Walmart. Jake's dad had actually bought them for us. And they all work together in sync. If something goes in front of it, which was also very weird, that I didn't get that recording before it got turned off. Something was able to come to the property and not even set off the motion of the camera on my phone. And the one in the front worked, the one in the other worked, and the one that was sitting up on the cave worked.
So I have a Bigfoot theory. All right. So we have the animalistic piece. Now, initial question. Do you think that it, could be a physical creature? Maybe it was conjured at some point. Kind of like the similarity of, say, like a hellhound.
No, the only thing that was conjured on my property were the Skinwalkers that I dealt with.
In general, like if somebody started it, like where did they come from?
The Bigfoot thing, I think it's just been something that was here long ago that has just been able to stay elusive. Now, some people have said that they do believe that Bigfoot may be like a scout for an alien nation, that they come down here to watch us, because they've stayed very elusive, but they will sit and they will watch you. When I spoke with Nick Valente, who was the founder of the International Dogman Project, he actually printed out a page for me. There's like 5 or 6 different types of Bigfoot species, just like there's different types of you and I. There are some that are more aggressive, and there are some that are more just kind of chill. It's the same thing as like the whole alien thing. There's different species of
grays.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I do believe that there was a pod on my property. I don't believe they were the aggressive ones. I just think that they were ones that they needed to eat. But the other thing was, if they were a coyote or a dog, they would have left blood. They would have left tracks and tear it up in the yard or something like that. This thing even went inside of my chicken coop, and the sticky stuff that was on the back of their little huts that they would sleep in was actually 20 feet away into the woods.
Was there anything on it?
No,
like
but
hair?
It was.
Oh, okay.
No, it was sticky stuff, but it was like something, its foot drug it out there. But
kind of like when you get the toilet paper stuck to your foot. Gotcha.
Perfect example. I just don't believe that they were a conjured type species. I believe, again, my opinion, I believe that there's something that's been here for a while. It's just evolved in different ways. Like we have evolved, like, you remember Leslie and Stephen Shaw, where they mentioned that grays are a form of us.
Yes. And one of the theories is that they are a far ahead version of us that comes back. Yes.
They have to have bigger eyes for a certain reason. I
think the sun will eventually, in theory, burn out, right? Or we're going farther away, or whatever the case is. I can't remember if we go forward or back. Whatever the case is, we no longer need sunlight. But then their heads are bigger because, even from 50 years ago to now, hell, 20 years ago to now, we are less needy of our musculature and more needy of our brains.
Exactly.
So as the time goes through, we just develop that way. The reason I was asking about conjuring is I sometimes feel like there's a lot of issues sometimes when there's a Bigfoot encounter with like an electrical pulse kind of thing, which is why I was wondering maybe that's why your camera quit working. Because
I believe it's infrasound. It has an infrasound. That's how a lot of people, when they describe even UFO encounters, where when they have seen like a UFO, they kind of feel that they can't move. Same with if you read and dig a lot for the people that tell their Bigfoot stories, a lot of them say that again, before, or they hear something like in the woods, they can't move. And there's a form of sound called infrasound that we can hear very low.
Yeah.
That
they're weaponizing it now.
Exactly. And, it goes along with even the theories that recently Terrence Howard, who has been able to tell us and has patented like 96 patents now, that the math is all wrong. We have the wrong math, which means a lot of different calculations of things are wrong. He even said, sound is so much more than what we think it is. Like this microphone right here, this is sound waves. Our brain is transferring it into a microphone.
Have you seen the art where they play a certain vibration and it actually will do different designs and colors and all it is vibrations? And that's why I'm wondering if maybe whatever it is that they have, it allows them to be more tuned into where we
Stealthy,
are, kind of like a backwards of a fish in the deep, right? They don't want to go eat us, hopefully, but it's oh shit, there's something here. Let's go the other direction. They try to evade us.
Your theory is amazing too, because I do think with the fact that they have this infrasound, that Bigfoot was able to walk up to my camera, disengage it, just being near it, for it to not even detect it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like I said, I would have got a smidgen if a raccoon had passed in front of that, right? It lets me know. If that Bigfoot was walking up and was able to be seen, I would have at least had that split image before the camera went out, and I didn't get it. So, and even again, that even goes to prove, as far as have I thought, well, maybe it was a human that took my chickens. Well, again,
You'd still
A
have
human,
something.
exactly. A human would have to have gone up to grab the camera. It would have set off my system in the house that said motion detected at the side door.
Because I have that too.
Right.
What if they have the capability? This is like a totally out there idea, but
I love out there ideas.
Yeah, for whatever reason, it just popped in my head, so I'm going to say it. What if they have the ability to, I guess, maybe shift or vibrate so quickly that you can't see them? Kind of like you can't see a hummingbird flapping its wings.
We have 11 different dimensions in this world. And the way it was told to me by Nick was I could be standing right in my backyard right now and Bigfoot could be behind me and I would not know it.
Yes, exactly.
They are able to. So again, your theory, 100% great theory, because the fact that they can vibrate or with that sound that they have in their body, their supernatural part. Because remember I said, I believe it's somewhat flesh and blood, but somewhat supernatural.
Yeah.
They're able to do that. And we don't, just like we can see a ghost orb come through for a split second. You know what I mean? We might see that orb one time in the camera and not see it again. It's entered into our dimension here in a second. Same with Bigfoot. I struggle with
orbs.
I did too until I had my own.
I haven't had one. Stuff. Yes, I haven't had one yet.
Well, I'll send you some orbs and light beams too.
But, mine are pretty blunt, and they. Well, actually, I don't. Sorry. Do you see this red light right here? No, it's on my thing. Okay, it was there for a second, and now it's gone.
No,
was
I didn't see it.
Right, like in the middle over here. Anyway.
But I do believe that Bigfoot, it can do something where that's totally true. I could be standing right here, but there's 10 other different dimensions right next to me. There could be a Bigfoot right here, but the way it's able to, just how like a human being can meditate and they can get into that deep state of meditation and tap into that part of the brain that not normally they can tap into on a daily basis whenever they want. They have to sit down, meditate, grab that space and bring it toward them. That's kind of how I think of it with Bigfoot. Granted, he's not sitting down with his legs crossed and kumbaya shit, but he's able, whatever he needs to do, is able to make himself be in that realm of his own until he needs to come out and grab something physically like a chicken or a rock to throw at someone or whatever it is.
How do you feel about multiverse?
Oh, I believe it. Yeah.
Because I'm wondering, what if they do have that? Like, it's maybe not that they're well, I don't know how to really, like, there's another layer. Okay, you ever seen the show Fringe? In Fringe, there's a specific area that is a portal. And the whole concept of it, I'm just, disclaimer, if anybody's going to watch Fringe, skip forward like 30 seconds or so. Okay, the guy in our world, per se, his son gets sick when he's young and he dies. He can't save him and he dies. He finds this portal because he's a physicist, and he finds this portal to an alternate dimension where his son is still alive. So he goes and he steals the other one and brings him back. And then the kid doesn't know until he's like an adult. Yeah.
A lot of people have talked about multiverse. My husband and I were actually just talking about that a couple weeks ago, where sometimes he has these crazy dreams where he's walking into a place that he knows.
Yep.
But there's all these people that he doesn't know and that are like,
recognize them.
Yep, exactly. And they're like, oh my God, it's been so long since I've seen you. And I think that we do have past lives, just like, I mean, a lot of people in a religious sense say that, our life, this is just a shell. This is just what we're in. Yeah. I do believe that those orbs are us because God created light. Beings are light. This is our shell for right now. And when we pass away, that orb that you see, that's a light being wherever it is that we go, whether some people think that it's a different dimension, that it's with aliens, that it's with God in heaven, whatever it is, it's a light being. And that has actually come to me recently. But Jake always, I always wonder what, like, deja vu. What is that?
All the time.
Is that, well, yeah, it hasn't happened yet, So why am I thinking about it? But no, it couldn't be a past life because I'm going to be in it here in a couple weeks when I remember that I had deja vu.
I do have a theory about that. So,
Mhm.
I mean, it's not a full-fledged theory, but what I have noticed is a lot of people that get deja vu very often, kind of like I get it all the time, also generally have some sort of like psychic ability or something that they experience frequently. And it almost seems like just deja vu is almost like a side effect or a symptom of the greater whatever it is that they've got going on.
Jake's had a lot of like small paranormal encounters before he met me. And then even at the cabin, he has seen shadows here. He's seen shadows. So, I don't think that he even really knows the full potential he has. I don't even know. But, I've astral projected before when I was like 22, 23 years old. So I've had that experience where I think that started my curiosity on things, on really diving into the paranormal. And I believe that all of us have some type of sense. We're just not, I think a lot of people that are skeptic, they probably have so much of an ability that
it's lucky, or it's this. They seem to find other ways to explain it away because the thought of what it could be is so outlandish to them that they have to fill it with some.
And I don't get that.
Like,
I don't get that. That's the part I don't get about skepticism is, but you're being told all these things. Why? So tell me, so when you were in middle school and you were in 5th grade and you were reading your history book, so you believe everything that happened in there?
I'm like, for instance.
So is that
Christopher Columbus?
Exactly. Or the fact
Thanksgiving?
Exactly. Or the fact that, we were told, we came over here and fought for our country and, from the British and all this, and it's like, no, we came over here, we stole land, we stole stuff that was ours and charged people for it. And no, we're not as nice as people think.
Yeah.
Or the fact, I'm not going to go.
Here's why they were here's why they thought they were doing it, but we're going to disregard what they actually did to accomplish that because it makes us sound bad.
Exactly. So that's where I don't get skeptics, because I don't get it. If you don't have your own encounter, but then don't be the first to discount someone else's encounter.
Exactly. Now, I'm going to tell you this really fast because I think you'll get a kick out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I live with the biggest skeptic in the world. All right. All of this shit that I encounter and I deal with, I have told him every time he's going to have a grandbaby. I've told him every time it's going to happen. I've told him when somebody's going to die. He knows. And he still doesn't believe me. Not only that, in this very spot I'm sitting in, I used to have a treadmill. I'm actually out on my porch here. So you would walk out my front door. You have the porch, and then you would go through the porch door to go, say, check the mail, right? Mm-hmm. Which is exactly what he was doing. When he got to the porch door to go outside, the moment he went to walk outside, this treadmill that was sitting where I am started running. Turned itself on. So he calls me, and he's like, the treadmill's running on its own. I'm like, excuse me, what? He goes, it started its own. And I was like, what? And I could hear the treadmill in the background. And he's like, how do I turn it off? And I'm like, okay, there's a switch. Left is off. Right is faster. Turn it all the way to the left. And he's like, it is. I'm like, okay, pull the safety switch. Pull the safety switch. It should turn it off. He pulls the safety switch. It's still running. And I'm like, okay, unplug it from the wall is your only bet.
Not say skeptic. I mean, my goodness.
So he unplugs it from the wall and it stops. Now, mind you, I want to point out that 2 days before this happened, I was sitting in my kitchen and shit was going bananas. Like things were coming, like I would set something on my shelf, turn around and it would fall off. And so I'd set it back on there and it would fall off. And things were moving and like the lights were flickering. And I'm like, okay, guys, I know you're here. He's the skeptic. Bug him and leave me alone. 2 days later, that treadmill happened. The day before that, right after I asked about it, my Keurig machine magically waited for me to leave. I hadn't used it in 2 months. And it waited for me to leave for work. And before he got up, it ran an entire cup of coffee with no cup. all over the floor.
That's where I go back to the EMF, that possibly UFOs, Bigfoot, Dogman, extraterrestrials. There's an EMF type of energy that we're able to tap into. I'm a believer in it. I'm a believer.
Have either of you two flatlined ever?
Yes.
Okay. So you guys will probably understand what I'm talking about. What I've gathered is people that have these psychic experiences and stuff, they can all relate to me whenever I explain that I give off almost like some like electrical pulse, basically. Like people can feel it. If I get close to you, you can feel it, and I'm not touching you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the same thing, and that's why we are able to pick up on these things that other people cannot hear, see, whatever, smell, whatever the case may be that you're getting, is because our electrical pulse that's going out it's almost like a weird echolocation kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes out and it hits it, and I'm like, okay, there's something in here. You just know there's something in here, whether it's good, bad, ugly, whatever, it's here. I think that Bigfoot can pick up on those signals, so it knows those people because they can recognize that we're different than the others because we put off that field.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why I will not go looking, because I bet you that son of a bitch will come find me.
Here's a little story. There was a lady who had described that when she ran into Bigfoot in the Pacific Northwest, so she's walking down this path, right? And it comes walking out of the side, looks at her, and then shrinks into nothing and disappears. It shrinks into a black like dot, and it's just gone. It just same thing with
like in a cartoon.
Right. Same thing with Skinwalker Ranch. You will hear a story about one of the original owners of Skinwalker Ranch before it was acquired by Bigelow and before it was acquired by Brandon Fugel, who runs it right now. The story of there was a black as the black it can be entity. Something came up just in the middle of this field, like a zipper opened up into nothing right here, probably about 10 feet off the ground. And a thing, one leg at a time, came right out of it. And then the thing just shrunk and just went away. So that's why I said I believe this is why things stay elusive, is because number one, they're very smart. Very smart.
Yes.
They're not gonna go by plazas and they don't need to go to Kohl's. They don't need to go to Publix. They're gonna stay where they stay. And when you look at even one city in a state, Natasha, and you look at all the wooded in that one city.
We have the wooded area like you're talking about. And one thing I think is because people are like, oh, they only see Bigfoot out. Like they're always making the excuse of, oh, it's some dumb redneck. And that's why you can see it. I was like, well, what do you expect it to do? Go for lunch at Harvard? I mean, it's not stupid. Like, what do you want? Like, it's just going to be like hanging out on the Empire State Building. Like, what do you want? Right. And if you look, and some people are like, well, we've looked at everything. I'm like, okay, find any forest, pick a forest, any forest in the U.S. that everybody just assumes that we know every square inch and could give it a colonoscopy. Find a forest. I said, zoom in on any map that you have and tell me if you can see every inch on that map. There's spots.
That's what I mean. Take, for instance, the Bridgewater Triangle. That place is a swampy, wooded area, but it's right by cities. But no one has trudged every little inch.
There we go. We're good. I was like, you just for a second. I was like, oh shoot.
So it just, like I said, until especially when you think of the Pacific Northwest and how, just so many trees and hundreds of miles, you can't say there is nothing living in there. Exactly. Just because it doesn't come to your front door and go ding dong, it's not going to do that.
And that's only assuming that you're looking out and up. That doesn't include all of the things like all the caves and stuff, people dig every day and all of a sudden, boom, sinkhole. And they just like, there's this cavern that's been here for 3 million years and no one knew it was there. So who's to say something else doesn't know it's there?
Exactly. I'm trying to show you. I'll show you a little bit of, if you can see it. So this was the main entrance of the cave. And then this was, what was really cool about this is I learned with research that Tennessee was underwater back in the day. This is how old this is. Right through crazy. Here, you can actually see like calcifications and dark blue algae still from the fact of when it was underwater thousands of years ago. I'm going to put it up to the microphone because I want to see if you can hear what this says, but I caught an EVP and it's terrifying. But anyway, back to, all of these different creatures, even Dogman. I believe that even Dogman could have even been on my property. But here's the other thing when we go back to talking about proof too, the whole coyote thing with the Bigfoot, for any listeners that might be like, oh, your chickens died from a coyote coming in. There were no dog tracks anywhere, but guess what kind of tracks there were? About 3-4 feet from the chicken coop. Bigfoot tracks. Yep. Well, it was a Bigfoot track because there was no shoe. There was no definition. It was toes, everything. And there were 3 different mediums that had watched my paranormal investigations of inside the cave when I was in there. And every single one that lived in a different state that did not even know each other all said that there were rake skinwalkers in my cave, because there were skinwalkers that were actually banished. On the property that I lived on, there was Cherokee and Chickasaw that had once lived there. And as you know, skinwalkers are the Indians that when they start playing with like a darker magic, they get outcasted from their tribe. And then the shaman was actually the one that banished him. Here's what's even crazier. Jessica nor knew about these 3 mediums that had sent me their information, right? Nothing. When Jessica did a remote viewing, guess what some of the words she came up with? Ancient, shaman, X marks the spot, pod. I think there was a name of the Bigfoot of what kind it was. It was like, I can't remember what it was. I have her stuff written down and she might even still have it too, but it was nice to get confirmation of that what I was experiencing, she was backing up, the mediums were backing up. And here, check this one out. I don't know if you can see this, but so no gnats or anything like that, because the gnats would fly away. This completely just left right there. Here's also the picture of more of the backyard of the cabin. There's Zook. I had put that on as his Discovery Channel photo because he looked like he was working for the Discovery Channel on that one. There's Jessica. Every night at 8, 9 o'clock on the dot, Natasha, these things would release themselves from the cave. It would set off. You could go in the daytime and it was freaky, of course. But at 8, 9 o'clock at night, you could stand outside of that cave and you could feel energy coming out. So when they were there, dude, this thing went nuts. We even caught an SLS figure in the cave and it was huge. It looked like a huge entity. Oh, I think it's right there. Steve thinks it was a cloaked Bigfoot. Here, then look at the REM pod. Look at that. They would come out at night. That cave was like something that once night hit, I could see 30, 40 spirits just rolling out of that cave to go play for the night. Just exactly. And I'll send you all these things so you can look through it. And there's one where I caught an EVP and something said, monster. It was, oh, here it is right here. I wonder if you can hear it. Someone said that they think it was like an ancient word, but I forget what they had said when they first heard it, but I'm here, like you'll hear me in the beginning whispering because I'm saying, Jake, shh, I want to like hear if we can hear anything. I'm recording right now. And then that thing, like that's the best EVP I've ever gotten. People paranormal investigate for 20 years and don't even catch a Class A EVP like that. And I caught it. I caught one. Yep. Well, it was on my phone. I was using GhostTube. And all I was doing was using it. I was recording. I had nothing running, like no Ovilus or anything like that. And I didn't even know I caught it until I went through the 2 hours that we were outside. And, do you want to hear my Bigfoot howl? Okay, let me see if I can find it. All right. No, but here, I do want to show you this, though. You want to see a black entity? All right, Bigfoot howl. Let me do this real quick. I was proud of myself on that one. It was the first time I ever had an EVP. Oh, this one. Check out this black entity. This thing was a very dark black mass. Whatever spirits were on this property were not good. None of them were good. There wasn't anyone that was, they were awful when they meant awful. When Jessica was there, the word devil, demon, everything came up. I'll send everything to you so you can hear it even better and see it better. But girl, it was the best time of my life there. Seriously. I mean, even what was even cooler is when Drew and them came out the first night we were, when we were doing that investigation, we all turned around at the same time. There's a UFO right in the sky. So you got Bigfoot, you got UFO, you have demons or skinwalkers in your cave, and possible dogman. And I said, yeah, there's just something with that area in Tennessee, but it's amazing. That's really funny that you say, because anytime that I'm together with Courtney and I'm talking about my experiences in the cave, something happens to her. Do you get a lot of activity there? Like, do you get a lot on a regular daily basis? Mm-hmm. That's weird. Do you have any paranormal tools? I know you have EMF dolls, right? Do you use a lot of tools and do you capture it? Because send me some. I want to see it. Yep. And I even had a paranormal group take a look at it. Not a bug. Not a bug at all. Because look at that thing. It actually elongates and then can go back to like little. And this was weird. You know how I caught this? When we first got these cameras, I said, you know what? I'm going to go live view. I just want to see outside. I caught that thing live and it was like it knew. Now, if you talk to people that live over in Ireland and Scotland and the UK, they are very diehard fairy believers, very diehard gnome, leprechaun. So what's to say that there's none here? That to me looked like either a light being scout or a fairy. See, I have to agree with you on that you can tell the difference between a good energy and a bad energy. And back in the day, I couldn't tell that. But when I got to live on this property and experience that black mass, now, like I said, I sent most of them to you by Instagram message, and then I emailed you the light being one. But on the one where you see the Christmas light colors hanging on my chicken coop, you see the black entity go like this. And have you always noticed that a lot of black entities that people capture on camera, I notice like a hood, almost like a hood, or some of them even have a wisp. And when you see them go past really quick, they're almost bent like this because they go very fast. And then that one that I showed you that was next to my shed, it started out as a very inky, thick blob, and then it rose and then went off. So to me, black, it's just weird because the black entities that I've been around, I did not get good feelings about at all. That's one thing that I do have to agree with, though, is that everybody thinks a demon means something like a kill. They want to kill you. They want to ruin your life. Some demons aren't like that. So there's a lot of demons that are just mischievous. They just want to get into your life and wreak a little bit of havoc. They're not there to kill you or anything like that. Even with the two that I caught out there and whatever was in that cave, to me, it felt like I was scared because I didn't know the intention. Now, the one medium had told me that they wanted to use me to release them from that cave. But you can't do that, Farrah. And I was like, okay, there she is. Like, they're going to try to make you think that they're human spirits, like they're ancient Indians, and that they want to be let loose to not be tied to that cave. Do not do that. And I did something eventually did come inside the cave. Now inside the cabin, the thing that came inside the cabin, I don't think was a negative entity, but it still didn't mean well. It was there for something, but I couldn't figure it out. The one night that what we thought was a Bigfoot, when we had our first experience, which made me buy that EVP recorder and stuff like that, was because it was at night, probably around 9 o'clock at night. My husband and I were sitting in bed, and all of a sudden there was this god awful bang on the side of the cabin. But it's so hard to tell you that this bang was something a human couldn't do, because this cabin was built with like this strong, sturdy wood from back in the day. So if you or I, or even my husband, as strong as he is, were to go like this and try to bang, it would be a dull thud that wouldn't even rattle. I wouldn't even be able to hear it. This thing banged once. We got up, went outside, which it was an open floor plan cabin. So we literally walked out our bedroom, through the middle of the house, around, opened the door, nothing there. We went back and sat down. 5 minutes later, it did it twice. So loud that my husband grabbed his gun and I even grabbed mine. And again, went out there, no one out there. Mind you, we had one of our Arlo cameras out there, and that thing never set off the motion detector. Hello, thing that's not from around there. Mm-hmm. No, it had no metallic tin, any type of sound like that. It sounded like flesh, but a creature banging on it. Because it wasn't like if I took a baseball bat, say, and on that type of wood that the cabin was built, okay, if I took you would hear still a ting of that baseball bat. This was something that was like fleshy or not hard, because it when you could hear the pound of it from the thing, from the hand, almost. That's why I'm saying it's like, you can't even, it's so hard to describe, because you would have to be there. And that's how I know that it was something that wasn't normal. It shook my bathroom decor. But here, look, this is the cabin. See where the air conditioner is? Now, also on this side, we would smell like garbage BO a lot. But this is where it came up to this. It came up on the porch and banged right on this wood right here. Now, look, this is, mind you, this is a hunting cabin we were living in. So it wasn't a cabin that was made with insulation and shit. So when I say that this is hard wood and it's something that pounded on it, it's like if I took, it had to be fleshy. It had to be fleshy and squishy like this, like a hand. There was no steps, so it had to crawl under the thing, under the railing, to get up on there, to be standing on my porch. So it wasn't an animal that just, same level as the ground, walk on my porch. This was something that was tall enough to lift its leg up, 5-6 foot. But was it human? No, because the camera didn't go off. And my camera would go off when there would be a fucking bunny, a possum, a raccoon. Oh my God. Living there, it was I'm just so glad that I'm so glad that I had that experience at that cabin. I'm so happy that I lived that I got to experience everything, that I got evidence from it. I'll never forget it. And I'll be so happy that I had that chance to live there. Well, I want to make sure that we do a part 2 anyway.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Cryptids, Creeps, and Conspiracy. If you wouldn't mind, please take a moment and rate and review the show wherever you're listening. I know it might not seem like much, but it greatly helps the show by allowing us to be found more easily when other listeners search for us. If you have a chance, head on over to www.patreon.com/cryptids, creeps, and conspiracy and become a patron. Members of the Big Show tier get bonus materials, personalized shout-outs, access to the private Discord server, and video versions of episodes, both regular and members only, that are raw and unedited. So they're always a good time. As an added thank you to the Big Show patrons, we also are going to be giving out custom stickers and mini prints after 3 months of membership. I'm currently offering a 7-day free trial, so head on over and see how awesome being a member can be. Before you go, click the link in the description and grab yourself or someone you know some of the self-designed merch, or make a donation to help keep the show going and fund future events and investigations. T-shirts, hoodies, stickers, and magnets can be found on the TeePublic site, and they have sales at least once a month. I believe it is 30 or 35% off. I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly how much, but keep checking back and get them when they're discounts. They have $16 tees, and it's great. For handmade crochet items such as Nessie, Mothman, aliens, Fresno nightcrawlers, and the little ghosts, or a big ghost, as well as pants, swimwear, the best tumblers I have found yet as far as merch is concerned, dresses, office supplies, and more, visit the Square merch store. You can also follow the podcast on Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, Threads, and TikTok. If you have any questions, topic recommendations, or personal encounters, please don't hesitate to send them in to cryptidscreepsandconspiracy@gmail.com or submit them through the contact form at www.cryptidscreepsandconspiracy.com. I would love to hear from you and share your experience on a special listener episode. Just make sure to specify that I have permission to add your encounter to the show, and let me know whether you would like to have your real name or an alias to maintain confidentiality. Thank you again so much for all your support, and I'll see you next time, my friend.